Welcome back to another, I don't know what this is. This is like a mini podcast. It's 10 questions for Leaf. Usually I try and do 10, but there's usually
10
more.
questions with Leaf.
Yeah, I'm here with Liefx.
Hello.
Leaf, why is there an X at the end of your name is my first question.
Why is there an exit? I'm
Yeah.
edgy, dude.
Okay, I like it.
Because Leaf is, I won't go to the whole story, but Leaf is like an actual name, right? It's a Dutch name. Fun fact, it means sweet or lovely. In Afrikaans, it means love. So isn't that appropriate?
Yeah, okay, sure.
Anyways, it's a real name. So whenever I sign up on forums and stuff, I
it's
didn't want
taken?
numbers, so I put an X at the end. It was the enigma, the unknown variable. It was symmetrical. X marks the spot. It's perfect.
Oh, man.
So,
I could see, Lincoln Park Underground moderator Leaf X making sure he puts that X at the end. I could definitely see it.
like call outs.
We're here for fun facts, boys and girls. This is what we're here for. All right, Leaf. WSOE, it happened. We both weren't there.
indeed.
What the hell, WSOE? Hire us. We're beautiful people.
What the hey?
What's going on here? Anyway, you hire terrible casters, obviously. Anyway, first question. How'd you like the format, just in general?
Okay.
First we'll go format, and then we'll go how they presented the format, maybe. So
Okay, because I was gonna tie it.
sure,
one
go.
there, but yeah.
Tie away, Leaf. Just make an
here's my-
X knot. It'd be great.
So I
Didn't make
love.
sense.
Yeah, no, not at all. I love the format of groups into a bracket. Now, when it comes to prestigiousness, I really think not that WSOE isn't important, but in more premier things like RLCS, if they were ever to do groups, I do think you still need a double elimination. I feel like there's more to it. Like you don't just see one team and they're out. Like there's a chance for a comeback story. Groups are amazing because I think it gives teams a chance to warm up, play everybody. It's not like, okay, well, we know these guys always have our number, right? For some reason, we can't figure them out, but we got to face them in brackets, so we just lose.
Yeah.
What's cool about groups is like now I get the chance, okay, we know we're going to take an L on them. We'll do our best, but we can then go take dubs on everyone else. So I think groups are an incredible way to give them a chance to play too. Like even the teams that don't make it a bracket are getting the experience. They're getting the time
4
to
best of
play.
5s. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think groups are just hands down an incredible thing to have at any tournament. Even if it was RLCS had something like that, that'd be cool. Just groups on the first day to get even a smaller bracket, but still go into double limb for that.
Now, real quick for this before you tie it in. For me personally, groups in a bracket, I feel like you need to do single limb because I feel like if you go to double limb, it's just redundant because it's just kind of like, oh, they get 2 tries again. Like group play was kind of where that happens, and I get it. One and done kind of sucks, but at the same time, it's like, well, that's why you play the groups and you try and do as best as possible there to get to face the weakest team.
Yeah,
that might not help. Like it didn't help for Dignitas or TSM, where they got the 2 seeds and they lost to both of the 3 seeds. But I think that adds like kind of an element of a bracket run for some teams if they do get an easier side of the bracket, or it's just like, hey, you have to show up. You had your chances earlier in the tournament with that group play part. It's weird to give people secondary chances, at least in my opinion, to a double like elimination again.
I think the way I'm looking at it is from a story perspective, and from a viewership. Because I was watching. I watched the whole weekend, and for me, I feel like it almost felt like 2 separate events, and I didn't have enough time to grasp onto storyline and really have that pushed on me. So for me, if we have a groups, it's cool. Like, okay, these guys made it out of groups yesterday. And now they just won in this part of the bracket. They get to go to the 3rd day. Now that's a continued story rather than 2 separate stories on their own. And I think that's something that I can, as a fan, can invest myself in more. That's why I asked for the double elim. I do agree that is a lot of extra games if you're doing the double elim, but
also that's if you have like infinite time too. Like this was a 2-day event, so that was basically it. And the reason why I asked you, Leaf, is because I built this whole format. So
you did?
Yeah. Like I gave them the format and all that. So they just used.
Oh well, now I know that's trash, dude. Never again.
I even gave them that they should have draft picked the groups, and then they wound up the day before not actually doing that. I was like, no, I really wanted to see like TSM and Cloud9 being like, you know what? I want this team because they're garbage. I want them in my group. Like that would have been a lot of fun.
That actually would have been interesting, letting the teams drafting.
Yeah, I think that's why TSM and PSG were a little upset going into the tournament, because they decided like a day before that they were just going to make them instead, because I guess they couldn't figure out how to do that on the production side of things.
Okay.
And I could see why they would be mad, because honestly, like on paper going into that tournament, they had the much harder group because no one knew what Flipside would do. Chiefs were extremely weak because they lost Trip A, and of course they had Afterthought on that side, I think, or TBD.
Yeah.
I think it was Afterthought. Yeah. So like three relatively weak teams. Obviously, Flipside that changed around, but going into that, like I could see why TSM and PSG were upset. Now on the production side of things, like here's my question first. What is production? Because I always hear like everyone's like, this is great production or this is not. Like I think there's like actual production and then there's like set design. I feel like those are two separate things in my mind, at least, where I feel like everyone, like anytime there's an incredible set, they immediately are like, that was fantastic production the entire weekend. It's like, no, that was a great set. Their actual production, not really up to par. And like I think that's the case, like maybe even a little bit for E-League last year, where there was some production issues, and for WSOE there was a ton of issues on day number one. They did clean it up, and I thought they did better and better throughout the day, so I'm excited for them to do another one. But day one, man, that was rough. I think that was more weird hiccups, and I didn't even see all of them that I've seen than maybe all the RLCSs combined, like for the magnitude of errors on their side. But it was a little hard to watch at first, and I could see why some people left. But I think they cleaned it up a lot at the end of day one, and day two was pretty damn good. Yeah, no,
day two, honestly, maybe like one audio issue on an interview or something, and then beyond that it was nothing. So now they know. Here's the thing, like this is the first time a WSOE doing Rocket League, right? So maybe it was a different setup, maybe there's a different flow to things.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just the team wasn't ready for it.
But still, like these guys are highly trained, production guys, you think. So it just seemed odd that it was just that far off. But
at the end of the day, it could have been equipment failures too. I mean, we saw one camera go out partway through on like player reaction things, and I feel that could have just been an equipment failure, and that's nothing that you can help. So the important thing is they fixed it, and hopefully going forward it'll be fine. I mean, at the end of the day, we got good games, and I forgot about the production.
Exactly. That's the best part, is when Rocket League when they have the great games, it makes up for it all, so it works out.
But I think the important differentiation is presentation and production. I think those are the two separate words then you're looking for.
Yeah,
what
that
is
makes sense.
Presentation, and how is production? What's the flow of?
Like how is production presenting this, or making sure there's no technical errors and yada yada. And because I always hear that where it's like, oh man, amazing production. And it's like, it looked amazing. Well, like great. There's no doubt about that. But production, I'm like, it wasn't that great this weekend at least. But but again, like I liked what they were trying to do. There was a lot of new elements, obviously, and all that, where they tried to show like different games at different times. Now, obviously, we're gonna start going into TOing and just how they decided to do that. We'll make that a whole new topic here really quick.
Well, here, before we get to that, I do want to touch on the format a little bit more on how the flow of it. I want to answer that second question. Sure. So given the fact that I love the groups, my issue was the breaks in the middle of series. I think that is...
Yeah, that's what I was getting to.
I think that actually screwed over G2. Oh, sorry. Is that... Do you want to... I thought
No. Go ahead.
I think that screwed over G2 in one of their series. I think it was against NRG. The momentum was completely flipped. I think it's one or the other. It's you have a break between every game in a series. So you do your 5-minute game, break, 5-minute game, break. And now it's something teams can expect. They can use that time to now prep for the next game in the series, but not halfway through. Or if you're going to do halfway through, have another one for the other team to lose their momentum. Like it just was not fair for the team with momentum, I think.
So so the one thing I thought that they were going to do when the cashier was like, oh, like we're going to look into other games while this series is going on. So I thought they were just going to do it during that 1-minute break, or maybe make that 1-minute break into a 3-minute break. So every single game has the same break, like you were saying, and then just go into games really quick. And it's like either go into a game, and if there is no game, just show the results so far or something like that. And I think that would have been a better way, where it's more fair, where you have, all right, guys, like instead of your 1-minute break, sorry, but you're going to have to wait 3 minutes between every single match, but it's every single game. Because again, it's so weird to do it after games 1 and 2 and then not do it after games 3 and 4. Like that's the only other way to do it, but they would have never done that because every other series is over. Like that was always something that I thought could be interesting in like a World Championship format. Like if we ever get to where we have like less games on a day,
we have the time to do it. Yeah.
Like going into a best of 9 format where it's like, all right, you play 3 games, we go back to desk. You play 3 games, we go back to desk, and then we finish out the series. And I think that would be an interesting way to do it. But again, it has to be like in certain intervals. It can't just be once early on because, again, then one team can lose all momentum. And if the other team battles back, they can ride that momentum. So it's a little tougher.
No, absolutely. I think that's what it's saying. You're all in or you're all out, and the breaks come around the series, not mid-series. But yeah, best of 9s for sure. I'm definitely down for that. I know Cuxer is too. I've been talking to him.
They fixed that too. By the end of the first day, they started doing no breaks as well, and they had some of those flex games in there, which was good. Yeah. Some of the flex games were a little weird that they had TBD flexed when they were already out of the tournament. That was kind of strange that they had that one. Yeah. But
did they have to play
I like the idea,
though?
huh?
Didn't they have to play spoiler though?
A little bit, but it wasn't like as crucial of a game. It was like PSG versus TBD, but like nothing was settled because of that match. I don't know. Like sure, a little bit, but still, like I liked what they did by the end of the day. Once again, where they got rid of those breaks, and like I'm glad they were trying new things because that's like what these tournaments are kind of for, right? Like I wanted a little more of a fun format anyway. Like I wanted group play so we could just see how that works, and then who knows, this could be a testing ground for RLCS, but. The main difference, I think, for the RLCS is you need a lot more time because you can't show every single game from a team throughout all of the RLCS season and then go to the most prestigious tournament and not show every game again. Like, that's where I think the issues come out for RLCS. I'm not saying that that's the case for WSOE, and that's why I kind of liked it here, where you don't necessarily have to see every game, but at RLCS, I feel like you do almost. So I think that could be a big hurdle for them, like if they ever go to a group
long RLCS finals.
I'm down. That means me and Leaf get paid. So I am down. All right.
I was just thinking more Rocket League, but that's it.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to talk about in the same kind of question is the Game 1 overtime between Flipside and Cloud9. All right. How would you have handled it is my first question.
As a TO, as a TO for Smash, you're doing that a lot. There's a lot of things you learn. Some situations work better than others. On making the call, but depending on the situation, I would oftentimes allow individual players to come to a gentleman's agreement. And if one player ever said no, then it was a no. But for the most part, the best general rule to have is teams don't make decisions. TOs make the calls. I think to replay that OT, It's hard too because now you're resetting momentum. But I think to replay the OT is after reviewing the replay and seeing that a goal actually was caused by the lag. That wasn't like, oh, it lagged and then a few minutes later a goal happened. It's like, no, a goal was
like that goal happened because of the lag for sure.
Exactly. So the call to replay the OT is absolutely the right call. The issue, and I think everyone knows this, the issue was that they didn't make that call right away. You do not allow, the second that you don't make that call right away and you let the series to continue to play out, you don't get to make that call anymore.
So that was going to be my second question. Would you rather have them played it there at Game 4 or not at all?
Not at all. Okay. You play it when it happens. Take a 5-minute break. You're already taking a lot of breaks. Take another break.
Yeah.
And review the tape. You do that right then and there. You think there's an issue, a player, I think Cuxer brought it up. You look at that issue right away and you deal with that issue before moving on. You should never have unfinished issues while trying to run the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, and I completely agree as well, where and now my wife is texting me, so everyone's going to get these hangout beeps. Come on, wife. It's always during my videos. Anyway, you always, like, if there's a technical issue or that a decision has to be made, like, players understand that you have to take time for that, and they will understand those breaks. Sure, it might kill momentum, but you have to at those points. It's not like it's a pre-planned momentum killer, but you have to make that decision right away. You cannot go back to it later. That just makes absolutely no sense. Like everyone like in that moment is completely different now. And obviously, like, that doesn't even matter that much. It's just you accepted that result for another 25 minutes or so. And then you come back to it. Like, it just... it's just not how you do it. Like, you have to do it right away or not at all. And I would have preferred as well they just continue to play and, like, hey, we messed up, and maybe, like, even tweet out like, hey, we messed up. We should have replayed that overtime, but we decided that later, and it was too late, and we just kept going. And you could have done something like that.
You can, and I've made bad calls, but what you also have to do is stick by it. If it's, at that point, you make a call and say, hey guys, we messed up, but we have learned for the future of what to do next time. That's fine. That's perfectly acceptable too. The biggest issue now is, you have Cloud9 who thought they had a game. Now, I think Cloud9 probably would have lost that series anyways. Yeah. But the point is that now Cloud9's going into its overtime completely out of it mentally. They're like,
and plus now they're like, oh, if we score, we're just back to where we just were. It's like, that sucks.
Yeah. And the pressure now, they're out of it. They're not thinking about, okay, the next game. They're like, what is this? They're not. And Flipside's benefiting because they're like, oh, great, we get to try that. We could end this right now. That's a good attitude. And going into a series with a good attitude and good mentality puts you with the upper hand. So that instantly puts just basically the nail in the coffin for that series for Cloud9. They're done. The second you made that call, they were done.
And to me, I feel like on Reddit when people are like, well, Squishy never accepted it. Like, honestly, like at this level, it's not up to the teams. Like, it's up to the TO, and it's like, too bad, you're replaying this. Like, you don't ask anyone anything, like, at this type of level. You just make the call. There is no reason to be like, well, do you guys agree? No, fuck off. Like, you say what is... like what the rules are, and then you just abide by those rules, and you don't ask, well, do you both want to replay it? Obviously one team does, and obviously one team doesn't. You just have to do it by the rules. So like, I never understood why people are mad that like no one asked Squishy. It's like, who cares? Like, that's not the point. But again, it's all about the timing of it for that.
That's it. Right call, bad timing.
Yep. All right, next question. It's all about Speed. A lot of people have him as the MVP of that tournament. From what I saw, I think maybe Mystic gets it. But either way, I haven't watched everything yet. But Speed, what does he do now is my question. Because he was on loan to Flipside. Technically, he's still on Red Reserve. He's got the choice in the matter. Flipside obviously wants him, like as we saw with like M-Dog tweeting like, hey, this is the guy we want. Is the same exact playing style as Yukio. And they've said before that they feel like he's a better shooter than Yukio, so they actually like him more than Yukio. But now Speed has all this, what is it? Leverage for, do you go to Flipside or do you stay with Red Reserve? Because honestly, he can ask for a decent amount of money from Flipside if he wants to, maybe, because Flipside obviously wants him. So who do you think he picks when RLCS starts?
So the whole time I'm imagining, I'm like, while Speed was playing, I'm like, I bet you right now Red Reserve's lawyers are in there seeing if they can modify his contract to increase the buyout. Because like they know that he's very like I honestly, if I were in Speed's shoes, I would pick Flipside without hesitation. The fact that it connected, and a lot of someone in my chat when I was watching was saying, this is embarrassing. Teams are losing to Flipside when they have a new player. And I'm like, you don't understand. Some teams, they have to work for things. Other teams,
it just clicks,
we talk about, it's a very important thing. And if they're used to his play style because of a player that played like that before, in this case, Yukio, then it's just going to work. That's not embarrassing at all. That just means that these guys pick the right player to play.
And plus, a lot less pressure on those guys, too, because it's like, it's our first tournament. Let's have fun. So that's what we talk about with like the honeymoon phase of like, we're just brand new teammates. We're just enjoying like each other's company. Oh, look, he's popping off. It's fantastic. No one really cares that there's no pressure there until later on.
With the chance to play alongside Cookser, though, I think my answer is instantly Flipside. Now it all depends if this is a business too. I would also say, look at both the contracts you're going to get from either of these companies, Flipside or Red Reserve, and then take your pick at whichever one. I mean, like, I think both teams will fit him, in all honesty, but I do think right now he's going to have the most success, with, I mean, Cookser is always a good player to pick, and Mystic has just been showing improvement after improvement. So I think that's a solid team, and I don't see why he wouldn't pick Flipside.
So what are you saying? Like 90-10 Flipside, probably.
Yeah. That's 89.3.
All right. I like it. I would be more. I don't know. Like, I'm gonna go 65-35. Like, I think he'll still probably go Flipside, but I think he built something on Red Reserve. They've shown that they can beat teams in the RLCS pretty handily and pretty often. They are a world championship contender, I feel like, on that team. He also has the element of, like, it depends how the dynamic goes, but you always have to worry a little bit about that 2/3 roster move. So if you join the flip side, you're the new guy. If things don't go right, well, Cooksier and Mystic or Buddy Buddy, that could be a problem for you. Compared to Red Reserve, I'm not sure exactly how that dynamic is. And then the other thing is all about money, obviously, right? Like if Red Reserve's like, we want to keep you and we will double whatever flip side says, maybe you stay there. Because again, who knows? Yeah. Your Rocket League career could end in like a year. Like look at Passion. Like last year, he was trying to find like 50 different orgs. He finally finds an org, and a year later, he's gone. So it's a tough call. Like I think Flipside is probably the better play, but I think he should probably try and raise that price a bit now. It's like, hey, I just won you a major. Like maybe raise that salary a bit. Like try and say like, hey, I'm worth it, obviously, and you guys want me. So maybe Speed should try and make some business moves here and get a little bit more out of Flipside than normal.
That's another I guess point towards my argument is that he's now proven that with this team he can beat. So like when's another chance he's going to get to prove that he can beat some of these North American teams with Red Reserve, right? You know, he knows with this roster that he can beat certain teams that he's not going to be able to play again for a while. Yeah. So I think that I wouldn't be surprised if he stayed with Red Reserve. But I do think his option is likely going to lean towards Flipside just because it's proven. That like what else do you need? What more do you need than to show that
a title, win? Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Yeah. Like I think Speed, at least it's a good place to be, right? He just won like double whatever he's ever made in Rocket League, so that's pretty nice. And then obviously now he's got two teams that want him, so that's pretty cool for Speed. And I think a lot of us are talking like, hey, like if this doesn't work out for Flipside, we might see a Magnus. I think we talked about that last season or last week. So Speed definitely earned a spot, and if he wants to go to Flipside, he's probably going there. So we'll see how that works out.
Best way to put it. He earned the spot. Now whether he takes it is up in the air.
All right, my next question. Cloud9. They didn't have the greatest result.
Yeah.
But for them, not the greatest result is still another top 4 finish. Every single tournament they've been in, they've been top 4. I don't have the exact count, but it's getting close to, 10, I would assume, lands that they've been to where they have a top 4 finish. Are they the greatest team to ever play Rocket League?
I mean, I will disclaimer on my bias towards the team. C9 is my favorite team. I just love the org in general, and of course, got to support my boy Squishy. But yeah. I mean, like by numbers, you can't argue it. I mean, like I would say, of course, NRG is up there as well. I mean, obviously they've had some disappointments, but I don't.
Yeah, and they've had roster moves, which I think kind of changes things a bit. Like I think that's what's so impressive about Cloud9, and probably makes sense why they have no roster moves. Is every single time a top 4 finish, like they don't have a bad result ever, except for like regional championships or something. But they still make it where they need to make it, or league play. But it doesn't really matter there, and then. Every time it matters, another top 4 finish after another top 4 finish. And I think if Dignitas was on their way to being better than them, but honestly, Cloud9, they have the same amount of titles. The only thing Dignitas has over Cloud9 is an extra world championship. That's the only thing they have over them. But besides that, they have the same amount of titles. They each have 3. So,
I mean, pull it down to the numbers. I mean, besides your salaries with your teams, what are the prize winnings? And I feel like from the point that they've entered, Cloud9 has to be above everybody from that point forward.
I guess so, because of the $1 million season, probably. Like, I think, just because of that, I think so. Like, I wouldn't necessarily go prize money, but I would just go, like, hey, they have that world championship. Like, say they didn't have a world championship yet, then I think there's still an argument of, like, Dignitas is the best team ever. But Dignitas, they do have 2, but I think Cloud9, because they have the same amount of titles, and just because every single tournament they have a top 4 finish, when Dignitas, they have 2 finishes in 5th, and I believe they have actually 3 finishes in 5th. So, which isn't that great, which is quarterfinal, and obviously tied for 5th with multitude of teams. So, I don't know. I think I would give it to Cloud9. They probably it's probably still really close with Dig, but now Dig has made that roster move, and I think they're going to start slipping a little bit. But I think you just have to give it to him because of the consistency with Cloud9.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things that shows that you're a professional is consistency. Being able to you're put into a position on any sports team, esports teams, whatever it is, because of your ability to do that job. And if your ability to do that job wavers, you're not going to hold that spot for long. So the fact that they are that consistent placing top 4 every single major they enter, that's a testament just to the team as a whole and the players individually and their consistency. Again, I would say the only other teams that I would put up into the air as a potential contender would be NRG or Dig.
Yeah.
Again, the legacy behind NRG, they've, of course, some flops, but always kind of been.
Yeah, they've been to everything, really. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at Fireburn Garrett. They're the only 2 players to make it to every single RLCS.
Yeah.
Right. So, I would, if we're having to pick a team, I think Cloud9, yes, for sure, has the edge over everybody else, just because of that consistency. Absolutely crucial to proving that you're the best players.
All right. My next question: who's the best team in the world right now? Like, if you had to pick one team to be the best team in the world, because I feel like right now we've had 4 different winners at 4 different lands, and that ties a record for Rocket League history of the most ever, like in a row. And now we have DreamHack coming up, could very likely be a 5th different winner. If you were a Vegas odds maker, who has the best odds to win DreamHack, which would mean they are the best team in the world? That's my question, and I think that's really tough. I don't know.
Well, it's tough because like one of my picks isn't even there.
Which is, well, they'll be there. Who?
Well, C9's not there, are they?
No, they're there. They're going to DreamHack.
What am I looking at here?
I mean, don't worry about that because all the best teams in the world are going to go to DreamHack.
I'm looking at the wrong thing.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, like they'll be at DreamHack, and even if they weren't invited or qualified, they would still go, obviously. So all those teams will be there.
Oh, yeah, because there's still an open thing, right?
That's already happened, yes. Come on, Leaf.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, Cloud9 and NRG were invited, same with TSM and Dig.
Yeah, okay. So
that's probably why you didn't see it. Yeah.
So
they will have also the top 4 seeds, so that might give them a little leeway, maybe, and Flipside's going to have a lower seed. I don't know if that matters necessarily because you have to beat everyone anyway, but yeah.
Best team. Oh, yeah, because I picked Ghost winning that.
Yeah, but so I'm not saying like who you think is going to win. Yeah, like I picked Bread, but not who you think is going to win. But if it was like Vegas odds makers, who has the best odds to win this, which means they are the best team in the world. Unless you say it's like a European team because of European home field advantage, but I feel like we don't really have that in Rocket League. So,
to a degree, honestly, going to Europe is actually more difficult than coming in because you're going forward, right? You're
for sure, but I feel like it hasn't hurt NA before yet, at least. They usually do pretty well there.
I'd have to split my money on either TSM or C9.
Okay.
Like if I'm going with straight
just straight odds.
Yeah, like this is great potential for a team. It's either C9 or TSM.
Okay. I would have TSM lower, personally.
Would you?
Yeah, like Ignite didn't show up in this tournament. Like I feel like TSM is more vulnerable to having off days and could be bounced out even early in this tournament. Like maybe not make top 8. Like I think they're more vulnerable personally.
No, you're right. No, I do agree that the volatility is there. Like I think Ignite is sometimes inconsistent, but when it I just don't see him being inconsistent for that long, you know?
Sure, yeah, for sure. Like, I think on paper, I would probably have Cloud9 still the favorites. Like, I think just barely, just because consistent results, they know how to get to near the end, and then they have finished before. So I think Cloud9 probably the favorites. And also because I think Dig, like, they've taken a step down because of Yukio so far, and it's only been one tournament, who knows. But they haven't looked like Dignitas in a while, at least. Flip side, I think, is still relatively unknown, and we're not sure if that's just one hot day or not. So I don't think you can put flip side up there. Like, honestly, like I would probably put my Vegas odds would be Cloud9, then NRG as the top 2 favorites.
And NRG, okay.
Probably.
Well, here's the consistent thing is I said C9 and TSM, so I think it's fair
to say close. Yeah, for sure.
C9's up there. I mean, like...
So best team in the world, C9.
I didn't say I'd be a good Vegas better. I like really though. If I had to pick one team, I mean, like I think it's. I feel like I'm just proving a bias or bandwagoning, but it's like C9.
It's like, not really a bias when you think they're good.
Yeah, I legitimately think, bias aside, that these guys have the best. Like if I had do or die, life or death money,
yeah,
it's C9. Like that is my final answer.
Yeah, someone was like, "Oh, you're always biased to Cloud9 and Chicago." I'm like, "No, I'm biased to good players or to good teams. Like, right. I think they're good, so I think they're gonna do good, and that's why I say it." But that's just the way it is. Okay, so Cloud9, best team in the world right now, but I think it's by like a paper thin margin versus like 5 other teams at least.
You know? Yeah, no, and here's the thing: is they can definitely be rivaled. Like they're
for sure.
We've seen it; they've lost to other teams.
This is like probably the most open we've had it been, where there's really no best team in the world, and everyone is so incredibly close. And it's not even like, oh, it's between Energy or Dig. It's between like 5 or 6 teams right now. G2's looking strong, Energy, Cloud9, TSM, Dignitas. Now, flip side, you could even put PSG maybe in that conversation, where they've like probably just on the outside, but they keep coming so close. So like they're very similar to what Flipside was back at E-League, where it's like, oh, they're just narrowly not getting there, and then Flipside all of a sudden wins something. And obviously that was a roster move, but I think it was probably going to be a similar result with Yukio, where Flipside's been narrowly close to being one of the best teams in the world. Like, they almost beat TSM at E-League. They were up 3 games to 1. They should have beat them and knocked them out, and then maybe they win E-League. Who knows? So I think there's a lot of good teams, and that doesn't even like include teams like Bread, who are stepping up, teams like Ghost that are starting to step up, and like Complexity all of a sudden. Like, who knows? Like, there's so many teams now that have a chance, and I think this is by far the most open, where no one is safe for top 8. Like, I could easily see Cloud9's top 4 streak ending here by not even making bracket. That's how strong that like this DreamHack will be, but I still have to say they're best team in the world, barely. Yeah.
But I think that we got to look at it like this. If this was a parliament democracy, you know, all these there's 5 parties running. Cloud9 won the votes with a minority government. You know, they got 30%, but then that other 70% was split amongst 4 other parties, right? So it's like they're close. The voting's really close, but they still just edged out on top.
Yeah. All right, next question. Are you worried about TSM or Dignitas after the result at WSOE? Like, how worried are you, or if you want to choose one to be worried about?
I would worry about Dig over TSM. Again, we already talked about the issues with TSM, I think with TSM. It's just, you know, sometimes Ignite isn't on, and when one team player in a team's off, it throws everything off. So I think their issue is smaller for me when it comes to placing. Dignitas right now, you know, I'm worried about, obviously it wasn't like super destructive, but there was a reason that K-Dop left. Yeah. You know, if he was still there, I would then still consider them the best team. There's a reason he left, and I'm wondering, was it, you know, is it a dynamic of someone getting upset? We've seen Turbo get upset. Is that going to happen? You know, is Turbo upset with Yukio already? I hope not. I'm assuming he would understand it would take time. Is Yukio, we've seen Yukio when he joined Flipside, be very hesitant on the field and sometimes play a little bit too far back, and that resulted in no pressure, no goals, you lose. But he worked it out eventually, but I feel like that's because he had incredible players, mental players like Mystic and Cooks here. I'm just wondering, I don't know, so this is hearsay, but what if there is a dynamic of, you know, animosity on Dignitas, and that's why K-Dop left? And I feel like if that is an issue, then that could very well affect Yukio very quickly to the point that he doesn't perform. Yeah. So I'm really hoping that is, again, just a pure guess at things. But that would be my biggest question mark. Now, if Turbo and Panda can create a great atmosphere for Yukio to feel comfortable in, then we're going to see, I think we're going to see Yukio flourish very well and find the role that he needs to fit. But that will take time. I don't think we're going to see it by a DreamHack. I think it'll come RLCS. They'd be fine. But as long as that isn't an issue, that could be the big turning thing, is will Yukio shy away, or will they help him find his spot? But it'll be by RLCS if he does find his spot.
Yeah, I think I would have to agree, where TSM, it's the same roster. There's some pressure with playing as TSM, but I don't think that's really all that much, because they finally signed that contract. Like, I think there was more pressure when they were Weedham Girls than they have with TSM, because you have to perform to show up to any of these events, and you want to get paid. So I think it's more pressure when you're Weedham Girls than TSM, so I wouldn't really worry about that. The one thing I do worry about them is, like, I've never seen them as the best team in the world. Like, even when they won E-League, where they can definitely lose to a lot of these teams. And I think it's still that case, but I wouldn't be necessarily worried about that. They're just going to have to battle. With Dignitas, with the new roster, where Yukio, he has huge shoes to fill with K-Dop, and he had some poor shots, obviously, in like WSOE, and people are going to start picking apart the shots. And I hope that's not because of me, because I said he was a poor shooter. I hope not. But there's a lot of pressure there, and Dignitas is used to winning everything. So there's pressure on Turbo and Violent Panda. We're like, crap, like we want to get back to the top. Also, we're the most like hated team there is because we used to win everything. Everyone wants to see us lose, and that might be slowly changing over time. But it's still the case. Like people want to see Dignitas lose because they won for so long. So I think there is a little bit more pressure there on Dig, and Europe's not going to be easy this season, but I would be slightly more worried for Dig, and I think TSM, it's probably because my expectations for TSM are a little bit lower, so I'm not as worried about them. I expect them to have to battle every single time, and they kind of know that, so I think that's the case there. But like I think just in general, as we get into the next question, like Europe has to be a little bit worried, because I think NA might have passed them as the better region. So, Leaf, if you had to choose a region, which one's better, NA or Europe or OCE or SAM, because now they're in the RLCS. That was just announced. Who is the better region right now? Like, if you had to put it to a battle of, I don't know, Mortal Kombat, who's winning this, NA or Europe?
Asia.
They do have a pretty nice arena. That Chinese arena looks nice.
Yeah. No, I mean, I honestly think we were even last season. I think NA started diversifying early enough that we started to see everyone's skill level kind of like level out, you know? Yeah. And I think this is finally the season that we've seen them surpass. I mean, EU is by no means a weak region, but I look at NA and I look at every team and I look at all the teams that were like, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7 spots. And I'm like,
they're guys, looking good. Did you lose some weight?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I was like, should have kept your number, right? Like it's like I'm looking at like even like Ghost, you know, a team that we're like, okay, Ghost is definitely like a middle of the pack. Now I'm like, I could see them placing higher than G2. You know, like that is so refreshing, so cool to see now that we have these teams in NA that even stretching down to that 7th spot, you're like, wow, any of these teams could potentially take teams or games off of some of those top 4 that we had before. Yeah. What was the big 3, the large 4? And I don't think that exists at all. It was a very short-lived thing. I don't think that exists at all anymore. Yeah. And you even look at like EG, you know, if Drippe can fit in, like there are so many good teams in NA right now, and so many questions. I mean, we even were just questioning the previous best team in the world, top team EU, about how they're going to perform. You know, we're talking about the next best team, TSM, about potential issues with them. Like we're not really talking about that too much with NA, and I would definitely say NA has the edge. Now things could change in the next few months, but NA definitely has the edge at this moment over EU for sure. Yeah,
so I think this all started with last year at DreamHack Leipzig, where we had 3 teams that were like rival series contenders, really make runs against all of this European talent, where we had the old Dignitas that was an NA rival series team make it to the top 8 by taking out some European teams. And we started to see, we're like, ooh, maybe NA does have that depth that we always talk about with Europe. And then I think probably last season as well, I think it was probably pretty even. Maybe Europe still had that slight edge just because I felt like so much of the talent was in that big 3 for the NA side. But like after these roster moves, I feel like NA has improved in every situation except for maybe Rogue, because they're kind of not doing too hot right now. But I think that turns around at some point. But every team has improved. While I think in Europe, that's not necessarily the case. Like, obviously, with Dig, they got weaker. Then we have, like, going down the line, like, Mouse Sports. I don't think they move with a lot is necessarily a great move. Like, I don't think that really helps yet, and they could prove us wrong, but for now. And there's just a lot of questions there. Vitality, they still have to figure out things on their side. But I think if you took, like, the top 8 of RLCS, from NA and EU and had like the 8 seed play the 8 seed on each side, I think NA wins more of those series. Now, there is the question of being clutch, where Europe right now, they're still hold and serve, where they keep winning titles. So they just had Flipside win in TSM, and Flipside won where NA had 3 of the top 4 for the first time ever at WSOE. But I do think NA might be the better region. Now, like, once you get down to, like, the bottom of the rival series, I think Europe probably has that edge. But I think right now, NA, probably, like, top 10 teams are better than the top 10 teams in Europe. And I think we'll see some of that at DreamHack. And those are the matches I'm most excited for, when we get to see, you know, those bubble teams from NA. Hopefully they're seated close to the Europe teams, and we get to see those matches. Because that's what I want to see most. Like, I don't care about, like, I do care about the top teams battling out, but we always see that. I want to see those bubble teams battle it out. But I think right now, I think NA might have a slight edge there.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to reiterate what I said. I agree.
All right. Speaking of regions, let's go over to OCE. Are you worried for them? Are you worried about OCE? Because we saw the Chiefs, their first like international event where they didn't get a win. They had 6 events prior to that where they always got a win, and that was also with less chances, where if you went 0-2 in like all those tournaments, you're just out. They had 4 chances to pick up a win, and they could not pick up a win. That includes Afterthought, an NA team that's probably a bottom level rival series team talent right now, at least, and maybe they make some more surprises throughout the rival series, but that's probably where you would line them up at. So are you worried for the region?
Yeah, I mean, like, it used to be like, okay, Chiefs are our best hope. Now I'm like, can maybe Tainted Minds could do something? It's like, when it's shifted that much, I mean, they lost Jake and Drippe, and that just completely, that's a new team. It's a brand new team at this point. Like, the Chiefs aren't the Chiefs anymore. It's a completely new team. And they don't have that level of experience that the Chiefs had before. Like, the Chiefs had been to multiple RLCSs. They consistently did better every single time they came along, finally placing top 4. And now that's all out the window. All that experience is just gone. And, you know, maybe we'll see an OC player or originating player do good with Drippe. That's, I think, the best. Like, I think OCE is going back to 0-4 with this. You know, I really am worried right now. Like, as we just talked about, NA is getting better. EU is not far behind, and OCE just destroyed all the rosters that had any results.
Now, to be fair, Tainted Minds is still around, and they came close.
Tainted
for sure.
Minds is kind of like the that's our Tainted Minds are our next OC hopefuls.
Yeah,
it's not the Chiefs anymore.
So I think, like, I'm worried for OC just because I feel like it's only Tainted Minds now. It's on them. The other question is, like, obviously the Chiefs didn't get a lot of play with Zen before coming out here. So see, we'll talk about that in a second because that's my next question. But I think it's very worrying, one for the Chiefs and one for OC in general, because now you're like, well, we got one hope. That's Tainted Minds, and they're 0-4 at the World Championships. So that's not fantastic. They obviously have been closer to winning games, but it definitely is not looking great for OC. There's obviously still time to get these teams ready to play, and we'll see if there's any surprises that come out of OC, and that might be fun for the fans watching there to get some new faces to the World Championship. But I would definitely be worried because the Chiefs are the only team that could put up results, and you just lost the best player in your region 2 years running for their award shows to a North America team. Like, that's going to be a big, big struggle, and my one thing is there's one hope, DreamHack. I know Tainted Minds are going. I don't know if Chiefs are going, but Tainted Minds are going to DreamHack. If they lose on day 1, then there is fire. There are alarms everywhere in OCE. If Tainted Minds cannot get out of day number 1, where they'll probably have an okay seed at least, they're probably going to be given at least a top, like, 12 seed, when, honestly, they haven't earned it because they haven't beat anyone. But if they don't make it out of day 1, where only the top 16 make it, then that could be really bad for the region.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we just kind of nailed it. It's just that Tainted Minds only hope, but they're still kind of like that. They don't get the experience. Here's the issue: is the OC is so isolated that they don't get that same kind of Yeah, I mean, it's great that they're going out to these events. You know, we saw Chiefs, WSOE. We're going to see Tatum Mines at DreamHack. But that's the only experience they're getting. And that is also dealing with your travel. It's not the best experience. You know, you're not in your own region scrimming, practicing all the time. I'm sure they're getting a lot of scrims when they're there, but it's like they don't get much time to actually get better, except for watching VODs and, you know, playing with high ping or scrimming people in their own region. But when you're the best, you're not learning much from the teams below, right? Maybe a little bit, but not as much as you could against better teams. So that is the biggest holdback for the OC region is the isolation. Sure, they have good teams, but when you get experience like the Chiefs got multiple runs in a row in the RLCS, and you saw that when they were able to get that experience, they got results, did better every single time, and then you throw it away, it's just like you're starting from scratch, and you have no. It's like you don't have the recipe anymore because you're so isolated. You have to like figure out what the recipe was, right? Like you're so far behind now. I think they really have to get as much playtime in as they can get at DreamHack.
Leading into my next question, well, they only had, what, 1 week I saw from Yummy's tweet, practice with Zen. My question is, why? You knew this event was coming. You knew you were invited. Why in the world did you only have 1 week of practice before with your new third? There is no excuse for this unless like some really, really weird contracts, but normally contracts are bought out. Yeah. And OC, they also have less contracts to deal with or less money going around, so it shouldn't be as big of an issue. But for all of these teams, even for like WSOE qualifiers, we see players like, well, we couldn't practice with them like Vitality couldn't practice with KDOT beforehand because now that was more contractual, but it's like, we'll buy out the contract earlier. I don't understand, like, unless they waited till it was over so they didn't have to buy anything out, then I could see some small cases of that. But teams like EG, where Drippe, he moves in the day of the qualifiers. He moves, so the first time they play together was for the WSOE qualifiers. Like, this is your job. And it's $100K land, and you're like, yeah, just show up on the day. We'll figure it out. Only 2 teams make it, but we'll figure it out. Yeah. I do not understand at all why all these teams are like, well, we haven't practiced a lot yet. I'm like, why? That's your job. That's your entire job in Rocket League is to practice and qualify for high money events. And for the Chiefs, of all teams that know it is very difficult to make money and you're guaranteed some and you could win so much more. There's only 10 teams. There's only 9 teams in front of you. And you could potentially walk away with 50K. Let's just pick up a player a week before. Don't worry about it. We'll only practice for a week. I do not understand this at all. There's probably some circumstances once in a while, but come on, guys. Practice with your goddamn new players earlier than a week before a qualifier. You had 2 months, 3 months. What are you doing? That's all I got to say. Sorry, Lee.
This is less of a question. More
sorry, I just wanted to
rant right now.
All right, Leaf. Why are these goddamn teams so poorly mismanaged at the start of a new year? Why? Tell me.
I think there are a couple factors involved in this. One, we don't. Again, there could have been some weird situation where it's like, okay, this player was actually about to sign with these guys, but then they didn't get back. So okay, so now they're signing with this team.
But right? But that can't happen with 10 different players. It seems like every team it's happening.
Well, yeah, true. Well, I can say some might be chain effects, but not cross region. But it's like I also think there's the fact that a lot of them are kids and they just don't take the initiative. You know, and it's like if the manager's not on them, then they're gonna be lagging behind. Even a 2-day lag behind could, you know, cause issues. You have to sign something. Got to get sent to the next person. Even waiting 2 days could make them wait another 3 days. And
but like
compiles,
you could play some ranked. You could play some ranked with these boys. You know, I don't know.
That is an issue. I mean, I love them, but I feel like tweeting out like, "Oh, we only had a practice" is more of an it's an excuse, not a reason.
Maybe.
I mean, you could have had. It doesn't really defend the situation, as you said. You should have been playing. It does. You know, don't use that as an excuse for performance or whatever. You should have been practicing.
One I could see with Drippe, like, hey, he's got to move across the world. Maybe that one makes a little sense. But like,
that's different.
You could move a week earlier, couldn't you?
Visas and stuff, you never know, right?
Maybe. But like,
I know those are difficult.
Yes, it's possible for sure. but like probably could have moved everything up a week, or maybe if someone signed something a couple days earlier, everything could have been moved up at least so you could have some practice. Like, I just don't understand why these teams are like, yeah, you know, we brought in Yukio. It's going to take some time. We had 3 hours of scrims and we showed up. Now, that's not the case, obviously, with Dig, but I'm just saying, like, it seems like every team is just like it was a last-minute call. We were like, we only have 2 players. I guess we need a third for this tournament. That's $100,000. But, you know, we'll just wait till the day before. Hey. Leaf, I'm going to pick you up. You're going to cast. You've never casted before with me, but we're going to show up on the day, and I'm not going to talk to you until we go live because I don't want any chemistry yet, all right?
That'd be fine with gods, but
well, sure, obviously.
But maybe that's what they're thinking, though. You know, right? But no, I think people just still don't understand. I think it's gotten way better. I mean, I remember seeing the tweets regularly from players like, "Oh, NA never wants to scrim. NA never wants to scrim." You know, but I think that's gotten a hell of a lot better now. There's a lot of scrim schedules, but I think that could be an issue. Is people don't understand the importance of even same day scrim. I mean, flip side was saying that they had so many issues trying to scrim for that final day. The only team that would scrim with them was Chiefs, I think. And guess what? The team that won was a team that scrimmed, right? Yep. Like people just don't understand, I think, the value yet of even it's not even the week leading up. It's even the day up. Get warmed up, get in your groove.
Yeah, that stuff, like, I could see once in a while, like, burnout and stuff, and some teams have, like, a certain routine, and I get that, like, to an extent, because you need a little time away at times, but I just never understand when there's a new guy and we had a week of practice. Like, that really pissed me off about the Yummy tweet with the Chiefs. I'm like, why? Like, what was the reason why Zen couldn't play with you guys? I don't know.
No, I feel.
I think that's about it for questions. I had 2 other ones, but I thought it was going to be someone else on the podcast. But Leaf is so reliable that he shows up again. So I was going to have who's your favorite to win. We kind of talked about that. And who will win DreamHack? We already have our picks. Leaf is going Ghost. I am going Bread. I want to switch mine to Ghost because they carried me to Rumble Grand Champ. Well, actually, I carried them. Go watch Lethamir's video because I am a boss at Rumble. But anyway.
Ghost DQ'd for boosting.
Yeah. Leaf, you have any last words or any last things that you want to bring up? Do you have a soapbox that you want to stand on and rant about before we head out?
I just got to get out there and say I don't see it enough on Twitter. We need to send more praise to the best player in the entire world, Gibbs.
Right here. We see it enough. We see it all over Reddit. We just don't see it on Twitter that often.
That's sure. I think I'm just stoked, man. Season 7.
Yeah, that just got announced like an hour before we recorded this. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm stoked about that. Super excited. I mean, it's going to look amazing. We got South American now. I'm stoked to see all these teams getting hype. I remember the first time when you announced like OCE and it's like, these guys finally got their chance. Yeah. I know Sam's been waiting for so long and I'm so stoked to see this. This is going to be
and that also means
season of LCS, man.
Probably a completely different World Championship format, right? You would think there would probably be 12 teams there. Who knows? And probably something completely new. So that's exciting as well, just to like, what's going to happen now? Are we going to have a 12-team double elim? That seems kind of weird, so who knows? I have no idea, which would be fantastic.
That's it. I just love Rocket League, and I'm so excited for 2019. Yep. It's going to be friggin' sick, dude.
And I love all players. I just wanted to spiel. If you have a reason why you couldn't play with someone for a week, let me know. Let me know. And then maybe I'll redact it on next week's show if me and Leaf are here again.
Yeah, good disclaimer is that, anytime I talked about knowing any team's dynamics and stuff.
You have no idea. Yeah.
All speculation. I love all you guys. You're all great people. So don't.
If I'm Panda, I love you, boy.
Yeah, you all suck though.
All right. So here's actually one funny thing because I'm gonna blow up Von Panda a little bit on the spot here, but
okay, all right.
We were joking around because I was saying, oh, the Yukio pick might not be that great, yada yada or whatever on some of my videos, and Violent Panda's like, all right, we'll show you. And then they go and they start out 2-0. They beat Cloud9 and during that half-hour break, which was another thing that we didn't really catch up on. Seems weird to have a half-hour break in the middle of a show. But anyway, he's like, hey, what about that? I'm like, good on you, man. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, you should not be texting me this until this is over, until this tournament is over. Because I'm like, it's not done yet. Sure, you beat Cloud9, which is fantastic. But it obviously didn't end up that well for him. But I expect them to continue to battle back. But I just thought it was funny. Like, I didn't DM him back because I'm like, I'm not going to kick him while he's down, obviously, because that's just messed up. But it's like, you should have waited till after day 2, VIP, all right? You should have waited.
Yeah, he jinxed himself.
Yeah, exactly. He jinxed himself just a little bit. But that's going to do it for me and Lee for another mini podcast that doesn't have a title or anything. We're just doing this on the whim because Leaf has nothing better to do, so he's the only one that I can pick up. So I love talking to Leaf, but I would love other people. But hey, Leaf, if you're available next week, we'll do it again. So there you go.
Yeah, I don't see why not. Love talking to you, man.
All right. Well, that'll do it for the show. If you guys enjoy this, let us know on Twitter. Let Leaf know by following his Twitch and talking in his Twitch chat with only Gibbs emotes. All right. So that's how we want to do this. But that'll do it. Later.